Hi, this is Jessica Drummond of the Integrative Pelvic Health Institute. I'm excited to talk to you today about how we can befriend our menstrual cycles. And I know that for your entire life, you've been told things like it's a curse, you'll have pain, you're going to have cramping, you're not going to feel well, your period is just an annoyance. I'd like to offer an opportunity to you today to shift your mindset around your menstrual cycle and start to utilize it as a path to sustainable self-care. In this program, you're learning so much from Silvana and her friends and colleagues about stepping into that charmed life. And let's talk today about your inner physiology and how that can support having a charmed life. So first, I want to show you on this picture, you'll see that there is a natural hormonal flow that starts day one of your cycle. Now, day one of your cycle is the first day that you're bleeding. So it's easy to mark, right? And at that time, all of the sex hormones, and we're going to focus mainly today on estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, all three of those sex hormones are at their lowest levels. That's why many women, just before their cycle in that PMS time and during the bleeding part of their menstrual cycle, feel more fatigued, sometimes a bit more crampy, a bit more irritable. And we're going to talk about ways to make that less of a problem. So take a look at this image. Notice that estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, all three of them are at their lowest points on the curve here. Now, as you progress through the month, around days 3, 4, or 5, you'll notice that estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone start to increase. They go up. And this is good. Now, the levels of those circulating hormones, as they increase in your body, give you a kind of feminine power. They give you more focus. They give you, in fact, this second week of your menstrual cycle, roughly days 8 through 14, around when you're ovulating, that second week, you're going to notice you're at your most sort of productive self. So on one hand, you're very feminine at this time. You're most physically attractive. You're most, you tend to want to dress in more sexy clothes, and you're more outgoing, but you also can be very productive. This is the best time to give a big presentation at work, to ask for a raise. You've got kind of like all cylinders firing on high here. Progesterone is relatively low, and that's more of a sedating hormone. And your estrogen and testosterone levels are going to be, by the time, like the day before ovulation, they're at their peak for what women have. So it's like you're being very well supported by your hormones, and there are some things you can do, we'll talk about in a minute, to make that even better. Then once ovulation occurs, the next day or two, all of your sex hormones are going to drop again to quite low levels. So the day or two after ovulation, again, you may feel a little more fatigued, a little more irritable, a little more wanting to kind of stay in your inner world. And then the second half of the cycle sees another smaller peak of estrogen, which is a very creative time, introspective time. You also have your maximal peak in the middle, so roughly around day 19, 20, 21, you'll have your maximal peak of progesterone. And progesterone is a sedating hormone, so you're going to feel more sleepy. You want to optimize getting excellent rest at this time of the cycle. And it's also a hormone that gives you the most access to your feminine intuition, to kind of doing examinations of your internal world, thinking about your deepest desires, doing more creative work, those kinds of work that don't involve a lot of socialization, but involve going inside yourself and finding those deep parts of you that are wanting to be expressed. So in the second half of the cycle, while you may physically feel less outgoing, there's so much you can accomplish on your inner world and your intuition's at your peak. So you may be able to notice things in your environment that are important that you wouldn't have otherwise noticed. And then as the cycle closes out, days 26, 25, 26, 27, 28, depending on how long your cycle is, again, your sex hormones are at their lowest levels, and you may feel mildly irritable, more fatigued, mild cramping in that PMS time. Now, it is not normal to have painful, really killer crampy periods. It's not normal to have extreme mood swings, depression, bouts of anxiety during different times of your cycle. And if you do, there are some things you can do to really smooth out those highs and lows of the hormonal swings so that you're not feeling so symptomatic. Now, if you're having very extreme period pain, killer cramps, sometimes you've got cramps that are happening even in the middle of the month, a lot of pelvic pain, pain with sex, pain even just with wearing tight clothes or sitting. There are lots of issues that cause pelvic and sexual pain that are a little outside the scope of this video, but know that that's not normal, and you want to find a functional medicine practitioner like myself or a pelvic health physical therapist to help you address the extreme pain. Extreme pain is not normal. Mild cramping for a day or two, that's fine, but any kind of pain with sex or pain with your periods is not normal. And the first thing you'll want to do if you are experiencing pain is to take out sugar. Women who have PMS symptoms tend to eat 275% more sugar than women who don't. So that's one of the first things that you can let go of in a positive way in order to feel good throughout the entire flow of your menstrual cycle. So letting go of sugar helps your moods, helps with any intense cramping. Now, it may not be the whole solution for that, but it can certainly start the process. And you want to find out if you're sensitive to any foods. Sometimes women are sensitive to things like dairy or gluten, and they maybe only eat them around that PMS time when the cravings are heightened, and suddenly they're having intense period symptoms. So, letting go of foods that are not serving, that are pro-inflammatory. As I said, sugar is probably the biggest culprit. Now, here's a little hint. We talked earlier about how during that second week of the cycle, your estrogen level is highest, your testosterone level is highest. In fact, if you're premenopausal, you're not yet in menopause, and you're almost not distracted by sex during days, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, kind of that second week or week and a half of your menstrual cycle. If you're not almost distracted by sex at times during the day, those hormones aren't functioning on all cylinders. So we want to support them. And supporting them comes from eating lots of healthy fats, and again, really minimizing the processed carbohydrates and sugars at that time. Because the other little tip I'll give you is if you're trying to get in better shape, lose some weight, that time in the cycle, your body is going to be burning more fat. Fat is its preferred substrate. That's a real sciencey term. But the preferred substrate simply means that if you feed your body fat, it will burn it better than if you feed it a lot of sugar and processed carbohydrates, which it will burn through, but won't do anything about helping you lose weight or improve your energy level. So you should feel really your peak energy, most sexual energy, and just general outgoingness. And again, there's a wide range of what that is for each person. You might be quite introverted, and so it's just a little bit more, but start to tune in. I had a client who was really frustrated because she felt like her libido was just gone after her pregnancies. But we started to tune in, and she noticed, oh wait, there's a little spark, right around day 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and she started to initiate sex more with her husband, and in a way, orgasm is a bit of a use it or lose it situation. So tap into those few days where your body naturally is going to feel more sexual energy and take advantage if you're struggling with your libido. Now let's talk about that second half of the cycle when progesterone is the dominant hormone. So your body thinks every month it kind of prepares for the fact that you might be pregnant. Now the downside to that is you're craving eating for two. This is when you're going to be craving the processed carbs and sweets, and you don't want to eat too many of them at this time or your PMS is going to be through the roof. You're going to have more pain, you're going to have big mood swings, depression, anxiety. Instead, you want to feed that second half of the cycle with more protein. And you want to think of this second half of the cycle. So imagine you're an athlete who is training for something, anything from a 5K to an Olympic event. So your max training time is during that first half of the cycle when those sex hormones are at their peak. They can support, increasing your strength, increasing your power. We talked about outgoingness, productivity. The second half of the cycle is the important time for recovery. So when you're recovering, you're replenishing the muscles with protein. So the second half of the cycle, you want protein and lots of diverse colors of vegetables to dominate. And that will give you the ability to take advantage of that sedating progesterone hormone, go to bed earlier, get several nights of 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep, maybe do a restorative yoga class. This is the time in the cycle where you want to be refilling your tank, taking Epsom salt baths, reading fiction novels, sitting outside and relaxing for dinner, just doing things that restore your body so that you can then enter your period with fewer menstrual PMS symptoms, and that will pass through rather quickly. You'll kind of have mildly low days for a couple of days, mild cramping, nothing disruptive. And then by day 3, 4, or 5, you get the benefits of all of those sex hormones increasing. So there's a few things I want you to remember from this talk here today. Sugar robs you of your sex hormones, and so does stress. So those two things, if you can get them under control, eat less and less sugar and think more and more about how to either eliminate certain stressors from your life or handle them differently. And work with a nutritionist to work on food sensitivities, because sometimes those can increase painful periods. And if you are having extreme pain with sex, extreme fatigue, extreme mood swings, and when I say extreme, I just mean something that's bothering your life. It doesn't have to feel like the worst case in the world, but anything that's bothering your life, if your periods are not regular, you need to connect with someone like me in functional medicine, or you need to connect with a pelvic health physical therapist, because there are so many things you can do to improve those symptoms. You do not have to have symptomatic menstrual cycles. In fact, they can be your secret power. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something about the magical powers of your menstrual cycle. Take that with you, and I will see you later. Bye.